Blockbusters. You are listening to the Triple B Podcast. Let's fucking go.
Welcome back to another episode of Triple B Podcast, Bourbon, Belts, and Blockbusters. This is episode number 7.
Heck yeah. Starting off episode number 7, kind of following with what we did a couple weeks ago. Going to a weekly podcast here, we decided to introduce a cocktail of the week as opposed to just doing a bourbon of the week every week. So we used last week's bourbon, which was our Larceny bourbon. We rated it, Tim gave it an 8.5, I gave it a 9.
Nope.
It was a very solid bourbon. We really enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to this cocktail. The cocktail that we went with was the Forbidden Sour.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of in honor of the recent AEW pay-per-view
Forbidden
Door. So the Forbidden Sour, what it is, it's the bourbon, again, that we used last week. We used Larceny. But it's 1 ounce of bourbon, it's 1 ounce of a pomegranate liqueur, I use Campari, 1 ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice, got a ½ ounce of simple syrup, all poured in a shaker over ice, shaken, and then strained over fresh ice into a rocks glass. So, this is what we got, Forbidden Sour. We're going to go ahead and take our sip of it and let you guys know what we think of it. Here we go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. My initial thoughts are just, it's another summer drink.
That's another summer drink. I was saying the exact same thing.
Another summer drink.
Damn, that might actually beat out the mint julep for me with one that I would want to drink on just a hot day. And it's a hot day today.
It is a hot day.
We're back in my place again. We're kind of roasting in my garage right now. I don't got AC or nothing out here, and fans be too loud.
This is going to be refreshing.
This is going to be very refreshing for this episode. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. What do you think? Ranking it?
I'm going to rank it. I'm going to give it 9.5.
Okay.
I'm going high on this one. This one is, it's good. And for people that are maybe not a bourbon drinker, you can drink on this and it doesn't feel as strong.
For sure.
I always put it on the radar of Haley. She doesn't like bourbon at all, and giving her a sip of this, she would enjoy this, I think. So
okay, awesome.
9.5 summer drink right here.
I'm gonna go at 8.5.
Okay.
I'm going a little lower, and the only reason, honestly, that I'm doing that is because I don't really feel like there's much of a flavor to it.
Okay.
I don't really taste like a true flavor to it being a cocktail.
Okay.
Right. I'm thinking when I think cocktail, I'm thinking that I'm gonna the mint julep last week was strong with the mint, and the mint lasted afterward. It had a really good aftertaste and everything. This is super refreshing. I would definitely drink this. There's absolutely, if somebody handed me this, I'm not going to be like, ew, no.
Yeah.
I'm definitely drinking it for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, I think for me it's a little lower than the mint julep.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'm very excited to drink on this throughout the episode with you, my brother.
We'll get sipping on that, but first let's go over the socials really quick. We got our Instagram at TripBPod. YouTube, at TripBPod. We're located on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon, the Triple B Podcast, Bourbon, Belts, and Blockbusters.
We now have a TikTok. That is at the triple.b.podcast.
We're also located on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Triple B Pod Bros.
And we just starting, I think last week was the first time we decided to do this, but we wanted to just throw out our email out there. It is the triplebpod619@gmail.com. Booyaka. But yeah, we want to throw that out there because we think that would be a great way for anyone listening. If you guys want to shout out some ideas or questions, like if you have any ideas for stuff that could be a question of the week for the belts or the Blockbusters section. You guys want to just comment on stuff or respond to us about things, or you guys have, like a specific movie that you're excited about that's coming out that you want us to cover in the Blockbuster section, or maybe like want us just to watch a movie and review a movie for you guys on an episode, anything like that, hit us up there. It'd be the easiest place where it would all be in one spot for us to be able to both see it and be able to talk about it and hopefully start building just our fan base out further. Yeah. So go ahead, go like, go follow, go subscribe to all of our things if you're interested, and
let your friends and family know about our show, and
thanks for the loyalty.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have another packed agenda today. We had a WWE PLE, we had an AEW pay-per-view that we're gonna cover all on this episode. So first, some of the stuff we're gonna go through some of the things a little faster than we probably typically would have on like specifically SmackDown and Raw coverage. Just so we can make sure we get all that stuff in, and we're not sitting here for 2.5 hours expecting anybody to be listening to us still. So we're gonna
kick off the belt section.
Here it comes!
Belts!
We got SmackDown.
SmackDown from July 5th, the day after the 4th. It was the go-home episode of SmackDown for right before Money in the Bank, yeah. So, show started off kind of just with a bit of a kick, right? Yeah. We had Jey Uso starts the show off, which is always a solid way to start any show. He's got one of the most, I think, entertaining and fun and fan-engaging entrances.
Absolutely.
That there is today.
And so the fans are behind him.
Yes, he's definitely over.
And then one by one.
And then one by one.
Each of the Money in the Bank participants come out. They made some play. Jay being able to enter into Canada.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yes. Had a DUI or whatever, I believe, in his past that prevented him from being able to get into Canada in years past. So they finally let him in. Himself, he made he made a little bit of a quirk at that, and then
Drew.
And then Drew made one also. As you would expect, this entire opening segment led to essentially a brawl in the ring, where it was like somebody would hit a move and then take a move, and then someone else would hit that person with a move, so on and so forth, up until it ended with LA Knight and Jey Uso kind of coming together again to take out Drew McIntyre out of the ring. And that was kind of where it ended with that, just kind of who's who of like who's going to win that match going into Money in the Bank. So
absolutely.
Next up, we had honestly what we've kind of just talked about. It's kind of a filler match in the show. Again, it's a go home show.
It was a good match.
Yeah, there was a good match for sure, but it was just like
Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly.
Kind of thrown out. It was kind of Pretty Deadly, kind of coming back. Like they hadn't really been on TV for a little, a few episodes or whatever. And so they were back. Street Profits ended up winning that match. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful frog splash from Montez Ford.
Yes.
It's gorgeous. So
he's a very athletic dude.
He is.
Super athletic.
Yeah, he's very impressive. We also had another tag team match on this episode of SmackDown, which was kind of what we had talked about multiple times in previous episodes over the last couple weeks. But Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defeated Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, kind of just reinforcing the idea that we don't think they're done with the tag picture, right? They straight up had a promo afterwards where they're being interviewed and
tag titles again.
Bianca Belair made it very clear that their intent is to get the tag gold back. So
I still could see where this leads to Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair.
I could totally
see it down the road, but
absolutely.
But like we talked about, being too early to split them up, and this kind of reinforced that. So
we had a very very emotional, very intense and fiery promo from Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton prior to their match, which would be the following night at Money in the Bank. And it was just full emotion. You know, Cody is always emotional and fired up. He's great. He gives great promos. Orton the same way. But then Kevin Owens starts talking about how like his mom was like rushed to the emergency room. He had to fly home. He had been there for like the 5 days leading up to that SmackDown. And essentially how like everyone, like that nobody would second guess him not being there for the show or anything, but the only person would be his mom. And she's been like his number one, you know, supporter and like making sure that you better work your butt off, bust your ass in the ring, fight like hell, all the stuff. And he gave a really strong promo for that leading into that match. So
I've been noticing a trend lately. It's WWE's allowing some superstars to kind of dive into the personal life more. I've been noticing it on NXT recently. They're just going into their past, and it's a good way for us to connect to a guy. You know, Kevin Owens is always over the top character typically, but you know he's a real person and got real things going on, and what better way to motivate yourself than you know, real life. You know, and
essentially with the 5-year life type of idea that they're setting up at Money in the Bank.
So I really liked that promo, and really gets you behind the good guys, right?
Absolutely.
Go against the new bloodline.
That led us to Bayley versus Piper Niven. There was a interview backstage with Bayley. Chelsea Green interrupted, and then Piper Niven attacked her from behind, which then led to this match being set. Bayley ended up winning, but during the match there was a smorgasbord of interference. The entire women's Money in the Bank match got involved. All the participants there, like Lyra was like just in the crowd as like a spectator at SmackDown, and she like jumped the barricade and then gets involved, and it was just like people were coming out of just everywhere, just getting involved in this. But it ended up leading, there was enough distraction involved in that it ended up leading to Bayley countering a move and then hitting Piper with the fucking rose plant, which is probably my second most hated fucking finishing move. It's so fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
Next to the Samoan Spike.
Yeah.
The Samoan Spike is my number one stupidest fucking move. And I hate it when Umaga did it. I thought it was dumb as shit. And I especially hate it now that Solo's doing it. But that's neither here nor there.
Question before we move past this. Do you think the women's Money in the Bank be interfering in this match? Does that tilt their head towards challenging Bayley for the title, or Nia Jax if she wins at SummerSlam? Do you think that's tilting, or was this just because it was the go-home show? And, what are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I honestly didn't even cross my mind.
I didn't think about it until just now.
You just said it, so, I feel like it definitely could kind of be a hint that, like, that's, like, whoever wins could be gunning for Bayley.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. But yeah, I guess we'll have to just kind of see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Nia Jax interferes. Bayley ends up beating Piper Niven. Afterwards, Nia Jax attacks Bayley, and then shortly after Nia Jax attacks Bayley, if we didn't already have enough interference in this entire fucking segment, Michin then comes out and starts attacking Nia Jax. So
Michin is all over the place now.
She was just in an NXT match like last week.
Yeah.
She's all over the place. So it was a segment for sure.
Yeah, it was for sure.
Wasn't bad. As we talked about last week, it ended up coming to fruition. You know, Grayson Waller attacks DIY backstage last week to try to shut them up from continuing to try to, in what he would think would be brainwashing Austin Theory against him, what most everyone else would think is just like, hey, pull your head out of your ass.
Yeah.
But it ended up leading to DIY getting their tag title shot on this episode of SmackDown.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
I really like the promos each individual star had leading up into the match, and I think Johnny took it home with, just saying we got history in Canada. They won tag titles in Canada from it was Dax and Cash back then. But really cool promos. Actually made it feel like a big time tag title match leading in for that main event. So
and to get it on SmackDown before a PLE, I thought was cool too.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
It was like they easily could have pushed it and put it on the card for the PLE, but they had it on the show for those that were in attendance the night before the PLE, which I thought that's just cool. It's kind of an ode to the fan base that showed up the night before a PLE, right? So
absolutely.
It was an awesome match.
Yeah.
I mean, as you would expect it to be between those four competitors, right? I mean, it's like they're all just really good in the ring. It's obviously like chemistry is fantastic with Austin Theory and Gargano having history. It was a fun match to watch. It was back and forth, and if I'm not mistaken, going back to what you were talking about, DIY having history in Canada.
Yeah.
The finish to the match, I believe, was the same way they won the tag match.
It was
the
essentially
tag title
the
before,
same
right?
finish. It was a killer end to the show. DIY gains the titles, and I think I like that we're putting some emphasis on the tag division.
I do too.
Recently. It was the missing component. I felt like it was just putting people together just to put people on a show. Yeah. But now we're just getting tag teams versus tag teams, and
like actual established tag teams too. Yeah. It's not just like people getting randomly thrown together, like you said. And I alluded to this last week that Jeff Hardy has always been will always hold a special place in my heart for Jeff Hardy, just in everything he's done too, from every promotion. I've always followed him. I love his in-ring work, and that was like when it was back in 99, 2000, 2001, when it was the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Christian and Edge. Yeah. Like that was like the height of tag team wrestling. Yeah. And so that was like when it was like just so much fun to watch. So it's cool to see it kind of they're giving emphasis, because we've gone on a solid fucking 20 years where there hasn't been like true legit pushes for tag teams outside of the Usos and New Day.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So and the Usos and New Day have had some of the best fucking tag team matches over those last 20 years. It's been awesome. Yeah. SmackDown ends with a Bloodline promo. Again, it was a go-home show, so there wasn't too much chaos or too much craziness happening. In all honesty, it was kind of a forgetful promo, in my opinion. Yeah. I literally couldn't tell you right now, sitting here, what Solo actually said in it. I just remember they were sitting around a pretty dope wood table. Yeah. Just visually, it was great. Yeah, visually, it was fantastic, and they're all black. And
I think just going from Paul Heyman getting murdered last week to just a go-home promo. Yeah, it just kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's how that show ended, which then led us into the following night, which is Money in the Bank. We actually watched it here at my house. As I mentioned last week, my brother came over for it too, so we all got to sit around and watch it. And the show kicked off with the men's Money in the Bank match, which honestly shocked me. I did not expect that match to be the starting match for it. Yeah. But it was a good way for it to start. Yeah. It was a really solid match.
A lot of good spots through.
A lot of really good spots. The Carmelo taking the fucking sunset flip bomb onto the ladder from Andrade was painful to watch.
Drew throwing a dart of a ladder.
Literally just threw a fucking javelin style ladder toss right into Jay's face while he was reaching for the belts. And then Gable belly to belly to LA Knight over the rope onto a ladder outside that was suspended between the ring apron and the announce table. Solid spots in the match. I mean, all around good match. And lo and behold, the beginning portion, at least, of your prediction for Money in the Bank came true. So
Drew wins.
Drew ended up winning it.
So part of his prophecy, his promise was to win it. Yeah. So we shall see. But cashing in was the next part of my prediction there.
Well, and that was the next part of his promise after he won too.
So
we'll see how it plays out. Next up was Sami Zayn, Braun Breaker for the IC. All around good match.
Solid match. It was just a lot of.
Go for it.
I was just gonna say, Braun Breaker really stood out as a big tough guy. Sammy's playing the underdog again, even though he's beaten a lot of big stars, getting that title, including Gunther, who was reigning 666 days with the title. So why still be considered an underdog, we don't know. He even said he does a promo later on, but just really solid match. And what else you got on that?
Yeah, I thought it was. I was really looking forward to this match. And during the show, I was out barbecuing during this match, but I've watched it back just to make sure. And there's a part of me that felt I felt a little let down by the match. I didn't think it was. I thought it had the potential, and I think I said it on one of the previous episodes. I thought it had the potential to steal the show.
Yeah.
And it by no means did that.
No.
And so I thought it definitely could have. They're both talent-wise and just like their chemistry and just everything, like they're just both so good that I thought it could have. So I was a little underwhelmed by it. And then you and me actually talked right after it happened in my kitchen. Just like I said that I like that they let Sami keep it because I think it's good for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
It's good for the business right now to have Sami Zayn be the champion because he's just so over right now and he's just so good.
Yeah.
I think it's good. You had said that essentially like you were surprised you figured they would put it on Braun.
Yeah, I thought that was
like a trajectory for him, right? Like,
yeah.
Which made sense too. I was a little confused. I'll get to a little more as to why later on.
Yeah.
As we get through the episode, but
as
time has passed and more things have transpired since
that
match. Now I'm more kind of in your boat as to like, why did they not put it on him?
Yeah.
And
I think I thought maybe Braun injured himself, but I mean it plays into the long-term story of it all. Like you said, we'll get into in a little bit. So maybe that's why I felt a little underwhelming is because there's more down the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was may have been chapter 1 in the feud.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, that brings us to the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Damian Priest, which was a fucking awesome match.
It was awesome.
So good, and unfortunately, it's going to be completely overlooked by a poor botched spot towards the end of the match. Because the all-around match was good, and again, this is coming from me, who I've gone on record to say that Damian Priest is not my favorite. I've never been, impressed with him. He is impressing me more and more as each time he's on the screen.
Yeah.
And his in-ring work with Seth in this match was phenomenal.
It was.
And it was great. And so it was very unfortunate for it to kind of come out the way that it came out, all said and done. But essentially what happened was at one point towards the end of the match, Seth goes to hit a Falcon Arrow. Priest counters, lifts Seth up into maybe his own Falcon Arrow or a vertical suplex or whatever. He's upright in the vertical suplex situation. Seth kind of brings a knee down, reverses it, and into his own quick Falcon Arrow. And there's a couple things that could have happened. But essentially, he has the pin, and it's a 3 count. Almost 100% it's a 3 count. Priest does not. There's zero kick out. There's zero movement from him. But the ref stops right before his hand hits the ground for 3, and he calls it a 2, and he says he kicked out. Now,
my thoughts on this was that the ref was out of place. You like watching the video back. He's pretty far up on where Rollins has pinned him. He's
definitely out of eyesight for Priest to see his hand, right? And that's like, if you know wrestling, you know that like anytime the ref is counting, they always, especially if they're on the other side, they slide to the head of the person being pinned.
So the wrestler can see.
Yeah, so the wrestler can see, so they can time out and make it a dramatic kick out.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Or they can make sure to kick out on time, right? Yeah. This ref 100% was not in the right spot.
And I mean, the whole sequence leading into it, I would be discombobulated just from everything that just happened. So I could easily see that.
Yep.
You had another.
I've since it all happened, I've watched a lot of different videos. I've rewatched it a couple times. But I think the one that stuck out to me the most was I was watching Bubba Ray's podcast, and he was talking about how like if you watch it, and then I've rewatched it since, and I was like, oh yeah, he has a point. Damian Priest actually kind of looked like he may have been knocked out.
Yeah.
And because then afterwards, he's laying there, and his finger, he kind of does this with his fingers.
Yeah.
And like that's not a normal.
Yeah.
That's just not a normal thing to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do that, and so if that was the case, then it still goes back onto the ref, because then as a ref, typically across, check on him, but your job is to count 3 in that situation.
Yeah.
Like, you should count to 3. You should count all the way through.
Yeah.
To protect yourself as the ref, but protect the wrestlers also. Because then you count the 3, maybe that's not how it was supposed to go, but if he is injured, you're protecting him.
Yeah.
And then now you have Seth as the champion, and now you have the next portion that we'll get to in a sec that happens. Now they just swerve in the back, and they make those decisions in the back, and then send it out.
Quickly.
You play it out the way that it should go then.
Yeah. And then
whatever it was, doesn't matter now, it's in the past, it happened the way it happened.
But then,
whether it should have or not.
And then I heard another possible scenario to it, so which leads us into the next part of this is there was some that think that
Drew's music was supposed to hit before that.
And if you know wrestling, anytime music hits during a match, you stop what you're doing and look at the stage, and so I could easily see that being part of the issue with it all, but
again, it all comes back to
the ref.
The ref should have counted 3.
Should have counted done it.
If something's not going right, you got to just count it through. You can't call a phantom kick out. Right? Like that's like the one thing you can't do. So whatever.
Moving into the next part of that match,
Drew did come out. Drew cashed in. And he looks like he's set up essentially to finish it, and lo and behold, Tim, goddamn, you called it
spot for spot,
fucking verbatim of what happened. CM Punk comes out, interferes, starts beating the shit out of McIntyre,
laying in on him.
Oh yeah, grabs a chair, uses the chair on him a few times, then grabs the World Heavyweight Championship and knocks him out with the World Heavyweight Championship, setting up Priest to then get the cover on him. Or I guess he ended up hitting South of Heaven, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He hit it and ends up getting the pin. So Priest retains, still World Heavyweight Champion.
He gets to still be
part
of Judgment Day.
He's still part of Judgment Day.
And that means Seth Rollins doesn't get a title shot going forward. CM Punk just screwed over not only Drew, he screws over Rollins as well.
Yeah.
But kind of, he
Kinda.
kind of screws over Priest because the whole point was, can Priest do it on his own?
That is true too. And Priest, for whatever the whole botch situation was, he played that very well on his facial expressions after he got the win.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that was that.
Yeah.
Priest is still the champion. Drew won the Money in the Bank earlier in the night, cashed in, and then ended up losing. So he no longer has the Money in the Bank championship match.
I want to talk about this because there's a lot of hate about this storyline online. They're saying, what a waste of a Money in the Bank cash in. And I couldn't disagree more. This just adds so much more fire to the whole
CM Punk,
and McIntyre feud. It's personal on all levels.
Yeah.
In all terms, Money in the Bank doesn't always benefit a wrestler. I mean, look at Priest last year. It was forgotten for so long, and you're like, really, are they gonna have a spot for him to cash in and make it make sense? I think why wait and just go with it, and I think it was perfect for the storyline.
I think it was solid. I could see the other side of it, just like you don't have the Money in the Bank hanging over the champion now for until Money in the Bank next year now. So for a year you don't have that. So I can see where like kind of the disappointment in that could be. But at the same time, it was like the last person who had it was Priest, and like you said earlier, it was kind of forgotten, because he held it for so fucking long.
Counter question to that and to the fans: the only one that I could see benefiting from it all would be LA Knight, but you got to take a look at everybody's storylines currently. LA Knight's feuding with Logan Paul for the U.S. title. Carmelo is not ready for Money in the Bank. He's the only one without a storyline. You got Chad Gable mixed in with the Wyatt Six. You got potentially Jay joining up with the Romans bloodline down the road.
Depending,
I mean, could he have one? Sure, but it only made sense for Drew to take it.
Yeah,
and he promised he was going to cash it in at the beginning of the show. So that's my thoughts on it. But yeah.
No, I agree. I agree 100% that the way it played out, I totally love, and because I think personally that the CM Punk Drew McIntyre feud, growing that and pushing that further and making it more and more and more personal each week as time passes is definitely that is way more important to what is happening storyline and just business and everything compared to having a Money in the Bank.
I think people are so just used to short storylines, and that's what they want. But look at the Cody Rhodes Bloodline feud. That was great. That was a long, played-out feud.
It's still happening,
and it had a good payout, and it's still ongoing.
Yeah.
Look at the long-term Jay leaving the Bloodline.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn, those were epic moments, and it wouldn't have happened if it was just this short-term storyline.
One and done thing.
And I think we're just stuck in a. They're not patient enough for the payout, and I think the payout at the end of the road is always worth it. So
yeah. This kind of moves us on to the women's Money in the Bank match, which where I'm just gonna start outright with who won, and that was who we both predicted to win, which was Tiffany Stratton. It is Tiffy time, baby, and we are all on board board with this. But that match was it was pretty fucking awesome.
It
had moments of both ups and downs. Unfortunately, I feel like there are a lot of women's matches have botches, more so than the men. I don't know why that is necessarily.
I think they're just trying to go too fast in some of the moments.
They're trying to do certain things.
But you could see what they're trying to do. They shined.
Even with the botches in that match, the high moments, my opinion, they completely outdid the men's Money in the Bank.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It was the spots that they were hitting, and I don't want to go too deep in on this because I'm gonna talk about this a
Yeah.
little bit. But some of the spots they were hitting in that match were fucking. They were insane spots for WWE superstars.
Yeah.
Regardless of men's, women's divisions, whatever. They were insane spots for any WWE superstar.
I think there was just moves like you're like,
I mean,
they're gonna reverse that move. They never pulled it, but they
then
did the
happened.
move,
Yeah,
and you're like,
what the fuck?
What?
And there were some spots that were like to pull from an AEW superstar that they're spots that you're used to watching Darby Allin take.
Oh yeah,
like the fucking stunt man of professional wrestling, essentially. Like it was some crazy stuff. But yeah,
honestly, great match.
It was it was great. It was awesome.
And the perfect winner one.
Yep. It was the one that we expected. It was the one that we wanted, that we're rooting for, that everybody's kind of rooting for, honestly, I think. It was either between Tiffany Stratton or Chelsea Green, I think, to win it, just because Chelsea Green has such a following behind her, just because of how good of... Very similar to Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah.
Very good at that fucking annoying-ass character, which is what makes you love her at the same time. So.
Exactly.
And then this brings us into the finale of Money in the Bank, which was the Bloodline versus Rhodes, Orton, and Kevin Owens match. It was Bloodline in this was Jacob, Tama, and Solo. Tonga Loa was essentially their henchman, accompanied them on the outside. And as you could definitely expect, I called it from the get-go. I said, ref's going to get knocked out at some point. The ref definitely got knocked out. The ref got fucked, actually. Jacob Fatu fucked the ref up on accident twice. And that led to Tonga obviously interfering.
I don't think overall any big surprises in this match.
No, it was back and forth,
straightforward. It was good.
Skills to the outside. There's the numbers game adds up.
I think the only
when you think the good guys are about to get the upper hand, the bad guys stormed back and led to the Bloodline winning.
Yep, Solo getting a pin over Cody Rhodes,
which was the smart finish to that. If you're having the Bloodline win that match, is Solo, the leader of the new Bloodline, beating the WWE.
You're building him up as the next big
champ.
bad.
So.
He needs to pin the champ, right?
Yeah.
So I think the only surprise for me was and I didn't even think about it, but your brother was like, the numbers game. There's 4 versus 3. Could there be someone evening the odds?
Yeah.
But that didn't. That didn't happen.
Didn't come to fruition. Didn't happen. I think for me, and it's kind of a bummer of a takeaway from this match, is I'm not a huge fan of Tonga Loa.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he's that great. I think that he has a lot. He is, I think, the furthest behind competitor, skill-wise and like ability in the ring and stuff, out of all 4 of those guys. And I mean, and I've kind of thought that a little bit, and I think him not being in the match may have shown that even like some other people might think that too.
Gotcha.
And then his inability to low blow Orton.
That was a little cringe.
It's like, dude, you just hitchhiked Orton's butthole, and then had to re-hit it. You didn't even play it off like it actually happened. You did it once and missed, and then realized you missed, and then you acknowledged you missed live, and then hit it again because you missed. That was just like, it was just all around.
If you watch the replay, he kind of hits whoever it was, Tama that he was doing the move, and he hit his head on the low blow. So
it wasn't great.
It wasn't great, but I think the right person won.
I think the Bloodline winning was the right call, and I think Solo pinning Rhodes was the right move there as well.
Before we go on to our 3 bells segment for this, we kind of bypassed a big moment that happened in the middle of the show, but John Cena announces that he is officially calling 2025. He's calling his shot. He's calling it the end of his career in 2025.
December of 2025 he'll be done. He is retiring at the end of 2025. But the cool thing that we're getting out of this sounds like he's essentially going full time for the year of 2025 as much as he's able to do. He's since said in like the press conference afterward, he said that it's like somewhere upwards of like 30 to 40 dates that they're planning for the year 2025 for him. Because obviously he's a super busy guy. He's filming all sorts of different stuff. So he is going to be doing as much as he possibly can, but he wants to go out kind of on his own terms. And he's talking about like they're trying to make it big and they're trying to make it good, and they're I'm excited for it. It's bittersweet because John Cena's always been one of my faves.
I would say too, I mean, it's just we're getting the list of people we grew up watching is getting shorter and shorter.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the good news is we keep following it so we know everyone, but like really when we got started, that list is diminishing really quickly here. And
I mean, at this point, Randy Orton's like one of the only ones left that's a full timer.
Yep.
Like in WWE.
Yeah. So it's
then you have Edge and AEW, Jericho, Christian.
So it's a small list. So that part is bittersweet. So that moves us into our 3 Bells segment.
Yes.
We introduced this at the Clash of the Castle podcast episode. So 3 Bells being the highest rated, 0 Bells being the lowest. What would you give this Money in the Bank? We gave threes to Clash.
I'm gonna give it a 2.
Give it a 2. I was gonna go.
I'm leaning towards 1.5. Like I was saying, like 1.5. I was thinking 1.5, leaning towards 2.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll say that. Yeah. I'll say 1.5 on like the heavier end of leaning towards 2. And I think it was because, like I said, there was just the whole finish to the World Heavyweight Championship match was obviously just a bummer, even though the match itself was good.
Yeah.
The Sammy Braun match was a solid match, but it was nothing to write home about. And then the ending to it was just kind of, it's curious, I guess, is the best way to put it. The men's Money in the Bank match had a couple good solid spots, but it was also like nothing crazy either.
Yeah.
You know, the women's Money in the Bank match is the reason I'm leaning towards a 2 on it. And then the Bloodline match, I think that kind of played out the way that you should expect it to play out right now. Like the big bad villain isn't going to lose in the first big event, right? Like think Thanos level type thing, right? It's not gonna end like that. So it was I felt like that one was kind of predictable.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm gonna give it also 1.5. I was gonna say 2, but I'm gonna call it right down the middle and just say, you know, it had good moments. There were good matches.
It was solid. There was nothing like disappointing.
But it also wasn't just like leaving the event. You weren't just going, all right, what an amazing show. I
think one thing that show was missing was Liv Morgan. Honestly. Because I think she is such a kind of polarizing and
she's a big part of TV time right now.
I feel like that whole portion of the storyline, the Judgment Day in and of itself, and Liv Morgan's involvement, all of that, I feel like it's just a big portion of everything, and it wasn't there. So,
and maybe it has something to do with the Bloodline finishing the show. Like it just there was no stakes really. It was just a 3-on-3, no championship implications. If you have a 3-star show or a 3-bell show, it's ending on a banger. And it was just
what we expected. Exactly. It was what we expected.
All right.
Brings us to Raw. I think this will we'll get through this one fairly quick, probably. There's a couple things that we really wanted to kind of hit on. But it was a solid show following a PLE, right? So Punk started the show, came out, obviously acknowledged the whole him screwing Drew McIntyre over. Said, repeatedly talked about your actions have consequences. And so that's what led to him doing what he did. And then after, well, also one thing we didn't talk about in Money in the Bank was Drew ended up getting himself suspended.
Yeah.
By, contacting referees and Adam Pearce, and just kind of going off the walls. But Rollins ends up coming out and interrupting CM Punk, and they kind of do little promos back and forth, going at it, and which, two of the best on the mics in the business today, which is always exciting to see. And this is definitely continuing, which they've been doing for a long time now since CM Punk returned, but planting seeds for a future feud. Yeah. But essentially, Rollins ended up telling CM Punk that kind of used that your actions have consequences thing against him, and said that as soon as you're cleared, you won't even be able to say Drew McIntyre because I'm going to put you back on the shelf.
Yeah.
So it kind of now put a target on Punk's back.
Yep.
So he's kind of now in a two-way feud now. He's in a feud with McIntyre, which is super personal and growing still.
Yeah.
But now he has this new brewing, festering, but also kind of picking up from some older stuff from when he first returned, going there. So
I like what Punk did in this promo where he you felt like he was about to apologize to Seth Rollins.
Yeah, sincerely.
Sincerely apologize,
and then he goes,
not a CM Punk move, and
but it's you, so how can I actually be that sorry?
I was like,
all right.
What is going? And then he did that, and I was like, oh my god, this is great.
Yeah,
that segment was an epic opening to the show,
yes,
for
absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
Then we go into Jey Uso going against Chad Gable. The two are still interacting and have a match, and Jey Uso defeats Chad Gable. But what happens after the match, of course, is the big topic of this. So we got the White Six stalking Chad Gable again. The best part of this segment was Jey Uso on the screen going, "I'm yeeting out of here."
Yeah, he literally just, the lights start to go dark, and he just looks at the camera and goes, "Yeet!" And he just dives out the ring and sprints up the ramp. That was awesome.
Yeeted out of there.
Yeet.
Again, you just see Chad Gable get out of there, and then a new package is dropped off at the announce table. It's in the back of my mind. Is White Six really going after Chad Gable? Because Jey Uso is involved in a lot of these segments as well. That's
true.
That they're coming out. It seems like it's directed at Chad Gable.
I think the one thing against it not being Chad is just the fact that he was the only superstar that was murdered backstage.
That's
in the
true.
Original,
That's true.
So. Or at least the only one that was focused on. I'm sure there were other superstars involved in that just to be as bodies on the floor.
Yeah.
They zoomed in on Chad Gable being shot in the fucking head.
Just coincidence Jay is there.
Okay.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of what they're using to build, or I don't know. But just major coincidence. But so we got a new package delivered to the announce team, and we'll find out what that was about here in a little bit. But that brings us to Bronson Reed. Defeated Pete Dunne after the match. He kind of started to attack Pete Dunne. Sheamus comes out thinking, it's kind of like a brethren type thing.
Yeah.
And he kind of saves Pete Dunne. And then he goes to kind of embrace he saves Pete Dunne and goes to embrace Pete Dunne. And Pete Dunne wants nothing to do with Sheamus. So that was kind of an interesting thing.
I wasn't sure where they're going with that.
We'll have to see about what that's all about in the future.
Then we get Sami Zayn out again, and basically just talking about what I talked about earlier. He just saying he's not the underdog. He is our Intercontinental Champion. He is the Intercontinental Champion. He is not the underdog.
And then Braun's music hits.
Braun comes right back out, and I think he has a new theme song too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was.
But
I like it.
He says he respects Sami. Looks like he's leaving the ring, and then spears the shit out of him.
Yeah, and this is the part where I was like, if they're not going to put the gold on Braun, but then the next night they're going to have, or I guess, the following show, they're going to have Braun come back out and then re-attack him. Like, they made Braun at Money in the Bank look just like a normal dude.
Yeah.
Losing to a single haluva kick.
Yeah.
Like, clean, 1, 2, 3, loss. They did not protect him in any way, shape, or form at Money in the Bank.
There was a little injury. That's why I kind of mentioned it.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, no,
but
to your
still,
point,
like,
it was a pretty clean.
But then they come back. But then he comes back out and he's clearly not injured on Raw 2 days later, and then make it like he destroys Sammy.
Yeah.
And then this leads to Ilya Dragunov coming out and like checking on Sammy, and then later backstage he kind of like storms back and he's like demanding a match against Braun, where then Braun gets himself disqualified during that match, destroys Dragunov. Injured Sammy then comes out, and then Braun destroys Sammy. He just fucking destroys everybody. So it's like, that's where I'm like, okay, so you did not protect him in any way, shape, or form, Money in the Bank. You made him look just like a normal dude losing to Sami Zayn in just a regular match too. Not even one that like took Sammy to his limits. Yeah. Right? But then you turn around 2 days later and now you're back to making Braun look like this fucking force. I don't know. I just kind of disagree. I kind of disagree with the way that they played that. But we'll see how it plays out in the future. Like you said, it could very well just be chapter 1 of
Breaker's
a multi-chapter story.
He's changing it up, I guess, and gonna become superhuman again.
Uncle Howdy, we got an Uncle Howdy video. There's definitely something brewing here. Something big is going to happen eventually down the line. All the Y6 stuff we've seen, other than the debut, has only been either Nikki Cross or just like essentially the silhouettes of the other three as well, or just like them standing in the smoke and stuff. And then the videos. So, but this video specifically was Taylor or Bo, whichever character it is, talking. Yep. Uncle Howdy talking. Their voices merging in and out of it themselves. The pictures flickering and merging as one and separate, and then it starts doing it. Now it's just like Taylor talking, and now it's him flickering in and out of the other four.
Yeah, it was actually revealing who they are under the mask.
Yeah. It was just flickering the characters and revealing who each of them are. But then it was flickering Taylor. Yeah. Like he is all of them almost. It's like what I was getting the feeling of, like he is all of them. Yeah. Back to the Moon Knight type thing, right? Like these are almost, it's like being played as like these are all like personalities or split personalities or something of him. This then leads to Gable confronting Adam Pearce backstage, saying like, "Did you just see that video?" And then like saying like he's been essentially stalked and attacked and all this stuff. And Adam Pearce kind of is like, "Have you ever stopped to wonder like why? Like what the reason why it seems to be that they're after you is?" And then Gable kind of storms away, and Adam Pearce turns and opens his door to his office, and you see Taylor Rotunda sitting there, and he just kind of looks over at him, and then as the door is closing, you just see a creepy smile, like just that creepy Taylor Rotunda, Bo Dallas smile that you're just like, oh fuck, and then that's it. That's all we got from that. So
we were kind of talking about it. I was like, I like that they're, it's continuing Bray's vision, but this is more, it looks like it's not just this fantasy world anymore. Like he's in the office like talking to Adam Pearce. That's nothing Bray would be doing in his. So I like this take and very curious of where it's going.
Then this leads us to kind of similar to the Go Home show of SmackDown, where they had kind of like a filler tag match. They kind of had a filler tag match here with the 6-woman tag match between Damage Control and Lyra, Katana, and Kaden. Damage Control wins. I think this primarily was used as a setup to introduce what seems to be a new female faction on Raw, which was Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, and Zoe Stark. So,
we saw the workings of this group trying to come up. Like it was always Sonya talking to Zoe and Shayna going, let's go, and I forgot to mention in a previous episode we were recording, but there was like in the background you saw them talking, and then they didn't really point it out, but you could see there's workings. But excited to have another group of women get together, and I think Sonia, Shayna, and Zoe fit really well together. So excited to see where this feud goes.
And then brings us to the conclusion of Raw, which was pretty exciting. We have Dom and Liv in a mixed tag match against Ray and Zelina.
Kind of precluding this match, there was some segments going on, but basically Liv was apologizing to Dom and going, "We're gonna make it up to you. We're gonna have this match tonight. We're gonna win.
Yeah, you're gonna get to beat your dad."
Yeah, and then we go into a segment where they're stretching together.
Well, she's saying we should practice like double team moves, and he's like, "I don't want to practice double team moves with you." He's like, "All I want to do is beat my dad," and then she ends up like knocking him onto the couch, and then getting his leg up and is like stretching his hamstring.
He's like starting to like it.
And they're in the Judgment Day locker room, and then the Judgment Day walks in, and they're all like, "What the hell?" Because they're like on the couch. She's like all on him, like stretching him. And Carlito's little
his little quip. That's cool.
He's like, "Oh, that's cool."
He had some great comic relief during that. But
he's great.
Back to the match.
Pretty solid match.
Pretty solid match.
I think the finish of the match was very well set up. Liv took Zelina Vega out, and Zelina sold that shot to the rim post so fucking well. She hit and just like ragdoll spun and just hit the ground limp. Like, it was perfect. And then Liv runs back around. Ray and Dom are up on the opposite corner. She gets a chair out from under the ring. She slides the chair across the ring, distracting the ref. She climbs up, knocks Ray down, racks him on the ropes, leading to Dom turning around and hitting an absolutely beautiful frog splash. Kind of an ode to Eddie. It's beautiful frog splash that he hit to get the win. Due to Liv's interference there. So that was solid. Leads to Dom kind of like celebrating in the ring, and then Liv gets in the ring too, and she like starts she's wanting to celebrate with Dom, and Dom actually turns and like embraces her for the first time. And, like hugs, and then quickly he's like, "Wait," and he like pushes off, and then Liv runs and jumps and like straddles him, and then they fall down, so now Dom's on top of her in what looks to be a potentially naughty position. And it looks like they're about to kiss in the ring. Like it looks like Dom's about to give, and Rhea fucking Ripley returns.
Mami's back!
Let's go. And so she kind of storms the ring. Liv fucking
hightails him out of there. And
she beats feet out, man. She was not about to have anything to do with it. She didn't even grab the title.
Nope.
Like she literally left the title ringside. She just dipped.
And we get a stare down with Rhea and Dom, and Dom goes to embrace her, and she kind of sidesteps him.
Shoulders him, and he kind of puppy dog chases her up the ramp.
And show ends.
That's how the show ends.
So
we got a lot of exciting stuff happening on Raw now as well.
We're on the road to SummerSlam now. So biggest show of the summer, biggest party of the summer. We got a lot of exciting storylines going in.
Yes, we do.
Which brings us into AEW. I just want to talk briefly on Forbidden Door. We wouldn't have this drink without it, right? So
Forbidden Sour.
Huge show. AEW does not skimp you on your money when it comes to pay-per-views. They load it up with all the matches. So I just want to talk on the ones that really stuck out to me. We won't go match by match because this podcast would go on for as long as the pay-per-view did. But wanted to talk about Bryan Danielson versus Shin Takagi. Great match. There was stakes in this match. It was for the Owen Hart tournament to move on to the next step. phenomenal match. Really good. Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa had a good storyline to it. Pretty solid match. Toni Storm wins that. Orange Cassidy versus Zack Sabre Jr. Holy shit. What a match, dude. This match was incredible. Zack Sabre Jr. is a technical wrestler. He just can reverse everything you can think of. They put on a show. I would almost put it in the match of the night until we get to the main event. We had Learning Tree and Jeff Cobb versus Hook, Joe Shibata. Nothing crazy there. Jericho's switching his gimmick again. It's starting to catch on, but I think people are getting over the Jericho thing now. He might be overstaying it. Yeah. We had Stephanie Valkyria versus Mercedes Moné. Wonderful, brilliant women's match for it was title versus title. Huge banger. Moné wins the title. She's holding two champions now. Which brings us to the main event: Swerve versus Ospreay. Match of the night. Holy shit! The story going into it was great. Ospreay's 18-0 since being in AEW. We got Jim Jones introducing Swerve. Had a big fight feel to it, and the surprising ending to it is Swerve wins. Retains the title. Ospreay loses, and but what a match! So I know you didn't get a chance to watch.
I have not yet.
Highly recommend anyone to go back and watch it because holy crap, what a pay-per-view it was. I'm gonna just give it a quick rating on the 3 bells. I'll give it a 2 just because Forbidden Door doesn't have a lot of stakes at place. It's just New Japan and AEW collaborating, but there was some big matches in there, so I'll give it a 2. Very, very solid show. So,
well, let's cheers to that with the Forbidden Sour.
Cheers to that.
Let's do that. Brings us to our
banger of the week.
Mine. Just not going to take me very long to go over this because I already kind of alluded to it, but it was the women's Money in the Bank match, hands down for me. It was fantastic. It was great. Like we said, even with the handful of miscues or missteps or whatever, the spots that they were taking and that they were putting themselves in were huge moments and very high risk, very high reward type things. The ladder German suplex, it was the one that you were talking about earlier, where like that move typically like you don't see it actually get hit, like it usually gets reversed. They hit it.
Yeah.
Zoe Stark got murdered onto a ladder, and along with Io's ass, she hit like the
Michinoku
driver,
like, but almost like pile
from the top of the ladder onto a horizontally placed ladder. Like it was like that was suspended in the air. It was crazy. And then I think the biggest moment for me though was Chelsea Green taking that fall.
The way she sold
it was insane, man. Like you usually see people like fall. So she's on top of the ladder in the ring. Tiffany Stratton pushes the ladder over. She falls. You would usually see them kind of take like a sideways fall. She fell and turned straight. She went straight to her fucking back from the top of the ladder in the ring, straight through 2 tables to the ring side. Yeah. She essentially hit a coffin drop.
Yeah.
Like, through the table. It was like the whole match. I think was the highlight of the week for me.
Dude, that's a solid call. My banger of the week is gonna be Swerve versus Ospreay at Forbidden Door. That match had everything in it. The match was incredible.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend anyone to go rewatch that match. Please go watch it. Let's bring us to
we got Belt's question of the week. We'll keep this one short and sweet. I just wanted to ask what your opinion on the level of kayfabe in the current state of wrestling, or I guess you might be able to even consider it a lack thereof of kayfabe in today's current state of wrestling, and like just compare it comparing it to like the era back in the 80s, 90s where like kayfabe was everything. It was huge.
Yeah.
And it's like which one do you think is better for business in today's world? Because there's a lot of factors that are at play there.
Well, I would say, there's definitely not, there's hardly the kayfabe nowadays. And it's hard to do with just social media, with everyone having phones. It's just, there's no way to kind of maintain that. And at first, it kind of bugged me. I actually had a podcast idea about it, about this, was call it, just watching wrestling through the eyes of not paying attention to social media. Don't read the spoilers. Don't read anything about what's going on. Just watch the show for what it is and go off of that. So I do miss it. I think it was just awesome to say, hey, they hate each other, and you don't get to see these outside characters. You don't get to see the Phenom Undertaker as this normal guy outside, So I don't think it's better or not for the business right now. I think they've transitioned well into what the world is now.
Well, and they're at like an all-time high, right, for wrestling and interest in wrestling. So it's obviously, I don't think it's hurting.
They play into it. They have segments on social media where you can only watch on there. So I don't think it's better or worse. I do miss it though. Just from the aspect
it was different. It was a totally different.
It was just, you only knew these characters through the TV, and nothing more. So what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree totally. I don't think it's. I think it would be impossible to pull off what they used to do in today's just world, because you wouldn't be able to do it with, like you said, social media and everything. The only reason that this came up to me, because again, I was watching clips from Bully Ray's podcast, and he was talking about, like, it was like the night that the Wyatt Six debuted, that group, just in normal fucking street clothes at like a Wendy's or a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A or something, like took a picture with a fan.
Oh, wow.
And posted it to social media.
Oh, okay.
So it was like the night they debut as this sinister group in costumes and stuff, then they just like took a picture as the Wyatt Six, but in just regular street clothes. So I was just curious. I was like, oh, that's an interesting like thought concept, because it's like, you're like, you should, maybe that might not be, maybe shouldn't do that. Like,
it really.
But at the same time, like you said, it's like in today's landscape, like kayfabe doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
Because it can't in that same way. Like if like you can't have a character like The Undertaker debut today with the same expectations of maintaining character.
Yeah.
Like, that you would have to live that. That's the only thing you would be able to ever. Every time you go into public or step outside of your house, you would have to be in character then. Where like back then, that wasn't the case. You didn't have media following you around nearly as much as you do now, because it's like any passerby on the street is media now.
Yeah.
So
I think the only real kayfabe right now is just if you hold that moniker outside, like Darby Allin, you brought him up. He's pretty much the same character in real life,
Logan Paul,
as he is Logan Paul. So I guess that's their version of kayfabe right now.
Yeah.
And here we go.
All right, well, that brings us to Blockbusters! So, our Blockbuster section, this week we got a handful, three movies to talk about?
I believe so.
Four projects, I guess we should say, to
Yeah.
talk about. We got two Marvel things to talk about we're going to cover real quick. First ones, again, it's just there's constantly Marvel stuff that we can be discussing on this podcast. And we will continue to constantly be discussing Marvel stuff on the podcast. So we won't spend a ton of time on it. But first things, Agatha All Along, they put out a trailer, they put out a synopsis for it. We both watched the trailer. The trailer looks great. I'm super excited for it. It's going to be a completely different realm of things that we haven't seen before in the MCU, which I'm excited for something different.
Yeah.
That's like its kind of own offshoot of stuff, but that I'm sure will somehow tie into other stuff and have larger consequences.
I think for the trailer, it connects to WandaVision.
Yes. Absolutely.
Has parts that tie into it.
Yeah.
So
well, because
at
the end of WandaVision, Wanda put Agatha in a spell and like took her powers away.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of how it looks like. That's how this show starts off. It's like her still in that
trance. Yeah.
And then the trailer shows her like snapping out of it.
Yeah.
So there's that. We do have the official synopsis here, so I'll read that real quick. It says, in Agatha All Along, the infamous Agatha Harkness finds herself down and out of power after a suspicious goth teen helps break her free from a distorted spell. Her interest is piqued when he begs her to take him on the legendary Witch's Road, a magical gauntlet of trials that, if survived, rewards a witch with what they're missing. Together, Agatha and this mysterious teen pull together a desperate coven and set off down the road.
Initial thoughts is just, we got a Wizard of the Oz theme going on here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very much so, like kind of alluding to that type of thing.
Yeah.
And also, I believe I have read some stuff, but I also feel like the teen is a version, at least, of the comic book character that actually is Wanda's son.
Yeah, I did read something about that as well. Billy Kaplan?
Yeah, Billy Kaplan, but I forget what the superhero name is.
Oh, gotcha.
Of him. But anyway, so that's that. Agatha All Along comes out, like, I think it's September 14th or something. It's
right around Halloween time.
Yeah, and end of
super excited to have
September.
Aubrey Plaza in there.
Aubrey Plaza's in it.
She's hilarious.
It looks great. I'm excited for that. Continuing on with Marvel, we got Captain America 4 trailer just dropped yesterday, I think, last night maybe, or it might have been today.
Yeah.
But new trailer looks great. Looks like a lot of build-up and tension between Captain America and the government in certain aspects. And then you see Giancarlo Esposito's bad guy, but you don't really get a whole lot from it. You just see him looking like a badass, rocking an assault rifle.
Doesn't give us a lot throughout this trailer. It's just a lot of this and that.
It looks like action sequences, and then voiceover talking between Anthony Mackie's Captain America and Harrison Ford's
new General Ross.
Yeah, General Ross. So, but the biggest thing that was given away in this trailer was the very end. It's a very quick scene, but you see the Red Hulk, and the Red Hulk catches Captain America's shield and throws him into the ground. We've talked about this briefly before. You've read some stuff and thought that it might be Giancarlo Esposito's character. I've read some stuff that it might be Harrison Ford's character that turns into the Red Hulk. We have no idea. This trailer doesn't give it away, but it did make Red Hulk official. So we're stoked.
Super stoked about that, for sure.
Awesome. I'm excited for that. This brings us to, you put this movie on here, and I'm excited to talk about this one as well, but Gladiator 2.
Talking about, Gladiator 2, another trailer dropped. Last week was full of trailers.
Yes, it was.
Gladiator 2, it's headed by Denzel Washington, so I think that alone just says it's going to be
Paul
a great
Mescal
movie.
and our own Marvel's Mr. Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, Pedro Pascal is also in this movie.
Exactly.
So,
Ridley Scott is back as the director of this, so he was the director of the original, and Connie Nielsen returning as Lucilla in it. So the trailer just looks badass.
I haven't watched the full trailer yet, but I've seen clips of different things, and I've been excited for this. The whole time since I knew that they were doing it, especially with the cast that they have. So.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat what Gladiator was, but it looks badass, so I'm here for it.
Yeah. The next project that we're talking about is one that I have actually already seen the trailer for, but I've only watched it once. You have not seen the trailer for this yet, and we're actually going to do something that we haven't done before on the show, but I'm going to use my tablet here, and Tim and I are going to watch this trailer live together so we can get
kind of a reaction,
live reaction to this trailer.
I'm really excited.
But this movie is Longlegs. It is a new horror movie coming out. Stars Nicolas Cage actually, as like the bad guy.
Okay.
But it's I have noted that the trailer for me has a very Silence of the Lambs-esque feel to it.
Okay.
And as I said last week, that Silence of the Lambs is my favorite horror movie. So I am super excited for this. I have it queued up here. So we're going to watch this real quick. I'm going to make sure, see if the volume being up on this. Maybe the volume will pick up on the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
So here we go.
Few moments later.
Damn, dude. Wow.
Yeah. Right?
Totally gives off those vibes of what you're talking about.
The Silence of the Lambs type thing, dude. And the fact that it stars Nicolas Cage, but you literally don't see him in the trailer.
But you hear his voice.
Yeah, you hear his voice, and it's super creepy. And you do see him, but not like you don't see his face or anything.
Yeah.
Like it's just glimpses of like his silhouette or just like his body from a distance or something. It looks so fucking good. I'm so excited to see this movie. And that's one that I'm like, I need to see that in theater because that is going to be like throw your popcorn in the air type of scary. I'm pretty sure.
Ooh, well,
I'm
there for it because holy hell, that was intense.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this episode up with our final question, our Blockbusters questions of the week. Again, I got like kind of like the bulk question and then a couple of just like follow-up questions. So, how do you feel about the amount of kind of like I just call them the long after sequels, right? So like the sequels of movies that came out 15, 20, 30 years ago, and now they're doing sequels to them. So we talked about Twisters last week. We just talked about Gladiators 2. We've covered the Bad Boys franchise, and there's plenty others that have happened or are going to be happening. It's just like, what do you think this is doing for cinema? Do you think it's a good or a bad thing for cinema in general? And I guess, do you think that it might be showing a lack of original content in Hollywood, or just a continuation of stories for fan service? Well, what's your opinion? What's your take on it?
I think it's a good question, and it's like a double-edged sword for me, at least. So far of what I've seen of these sequels is a good thing. I've thoroughly enjoyed them. It's a good callback to what we grew up watching, and I'm enjoying it from that perspective. But at the same time, we're not getting a lot of original content in theaters, and so it just seems like all we are watching is rehashes of what we are in, and so I see it all. It could be good and bad. I don't have a definitive answer for you, but I've enjoyed everything that's been there, but would love to see original stuff as well.
Yeah.
But as long as it's good, it makes for good TV or good movies, and that's ultimately what I want. I want to enjoy a movie, and if it so happens to go off another story that I've watched before, I'm good with that. So,
yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same. Yeah, I think it's I enjoy it. Like I said, I'm really excited for Twisters. I'm excited for the next Gladiator movie. To the point of like, is there a lack of original content? I think yes and no.
Yeah.
I think the horror genre has actually done a really good job of creating original content. I mean, we just watched the Longlegs trailer. That is all 100% original. That's a brand new thing.
Yeah.
A Quiet Place, and that whole franchise that has kind of spawned in the last few years is just a completely unique concept.
Yeah.
And so I think it's I think there in certain genres there might be a lack of original content, and they're a lot more playing off older stuff, and trying to just kind of maybe cash cow it a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I think I don't think it's a bad thing though. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing for cinema that they're pulling back from classics and trying to use that to spur new things. So
I mean, just another thought came. It helps older movies resell again though, right? Like, so you have Bad Boys 4 come out. What are you gonna do? You're gonna go back and watch 1, 2, 3 going into it. So it can bring in new audience to this and watching old things. Buying, I know I bought a few movies just to add to the collection, just because I was like, oh, this is coming out. I gotta watch everything leading up to it. So I'm sure it has something to do with that as well. So yeah. Good question, man.
Well, that's gonna wrap up episode 7 for us.
Cheers.
Cheers, dude. Episode 7 in the books. Love it. Forbidden sour.
Forbidden sour.